Welcome to my channel, The Binge Eating Therapist. I'm Sarah, former binge eater turned psychotherapist, and my mission is to use this space to bring content to you to help you understand your struggle with food and break free from binge eating. And today I want to share with you something that happened to me this week. So I had to phone the GP to get a repeat prescription, and whilst I was on the phone to her, she asked me for my weight. Now, I have a vague idea what my weight is. I weigh myself not very often, but I don't feel particularly emotionally attached to my weight these days, so therefore it doesn't worry me saying it, and it doesn't worry me knowing it. So I told the doctor my weight, to which she mentioned that I was overweight, and she told me my BMI. And she made a couple of suggestions about what I might do to get into a healthy weight range. And at the time, I wasn't bothered about it. It didn't feel particularly judgmental. I just said, yeah, okay, and got off the phone. And it was one of those situations that when you think about it afterwards, you start thinking about all the things you would have liked to have said. So I think for me, what I would have liked to have said to that GP is, first of all, if you look at my records, there's a diagnosis on my NHS records as somebody with or had bulimia. So to start telling somebody with a diagnosis of an eating disorder that they are overweight and starting to tell them how to do something about that, I don't think is particularly responsible. But fair enough, doctors are busy and they don't always have time to trawl through your records before they say whatever it is they want to say to you. But I wish I'd said that. And the other thing that I wish I said is actually, I am a healthy weight. And the way I know I am a healthy weight is because of how I think about health. So for me, health is not just physical health, it's mental health and it's emotional health, right? You could have perfect physical health, but if your mental and emotional health is poor, your quality of life could be pretty difficult. And likewise, the other way around, you could have really good mental and emotional health, yet you could have some physical health problems, and you could still live a pretty fulfilled life. So what I wish I'd said to her is that actually I'm not overweight for me, I'm a healthy weight. Because I know that if I were to focus on trying to bring my BMI down, my binge eating would come back. I know that because the few times that I've been tempted to, or I found myself slightly veering in that direction, I notice a change in my eating, not for the better. I feel more compulsive and more uncomfortable around food. And it got me thinking of another time when I was right in the depths of my eating disorder. I went to do, so here in the UK we have different bands of driving licenses. And so I wanted to be able to drive bigger vehicles for my work. So work were paying for me to go on what was called a C1 D1 course. And in order to go and do this driving course, this very basic driving course, you're just driving slightly bigger vehicles, I had to go and have a medical by a doctor. And I went to see this doctor to drive a vehicle. And I was weighed, and he started telling me about how I should lose weight. And at this point, I was right in my eating disorder, so I felt really, really ashamed and really humiliated. And he wouldn't have known that, but it's a tricky field. And for those of you out here who perhaps your BMI is above what is considered to be the normal range, I feel for you. And I suppose I want to kind of offer that idea of thinking about how you want to respond in these medical situations in advance. Because actually, even in the moment, I remember when the doctor said to me this week, mentioned about my weight and about how I could lose weight, I felt a bit disconnected from what she was saying. I was like, yeah, doctors don't always know best. And then afterwards, I felt like I'd really missed an opportunity to quite kindly try to educate her a bit. I mean, she might not have been open to that, but she seemed pretty nice. She seemed like she was trying to be extremely helpful in everything else I was asking her to do. So it didn't even sound critical when she said it. It was just so matter of fact. Your BMI is this, so you might want to think about X, Y, Z in order to bring your BMI down into a sorry, I have to keep doing air quotes, but you know what I mean. When I say normal range, I mean what has been defined as that. And if you've read any of the stuff when people are talking about BMI, in 1997, they changed the goalposts about BMI. It used to be up to 27 that was considered, 20 to 27 that was considered a normal range, and 27 and above was overweight. And then they changed it to 25. One of the reasons given was because it was easier for doctors to remember. Go figure. So as long as our health is just dependent on doctors' memories, that's just totally cool, right? So I just thought I would hop on and share this personal story. And I've spoken to a lot of people who have had some really, really insensitive things said to them by doctors who just don't get it. I know people who've gone to their doctors trying to explain that they believe they have binge eating disorder. They've read the criteria and they can see how they fit it. And the doctors just aren't getting it. And, we can get angry or upset about this, or we could use it as an opportunity to think about how we want to respond in those situations. I've decided now that the next time a doctor tells me I'm overweight, I'm going to tell them that I'm a healthy weight, and I'm going to explain exactly why I'm a healthy weight for me in the way that I did to you guys. If more of us are doing this and speaking up in a way that is non-confrontational, we're just talking about from our experience, because doctors, they've got a tough job, and I appreciate that. And they've got people coming into their offices who have Googled their symptoms and, they've consulted Dr. Google before they've come, and they're telling doctors what they want them to do. And they haven't got an easy job, particularly now in the current situation, which is the COVID pandemic. It's quite a tricky job to do, and I don't really envy them, to be honest. However, we have an opportunity here. And I think that if you are struggling with binge eating and you are hoping to get some kind of national service help and you don't think it's going to be available, my encouragement, if you feel robust enough in yourself at the moment to do it, is to still go and ask, right? Because the more people that go to the doctors and say, this is my problem and I need help, even if the help's not available now, if more people are going and asking for help, maybe that's how change starts to happen. I don't know, it's just one possibility and worth a try. And I also want to touch on the idea about whether to weigh yourself or not, because I had a question this week from somebody asking about my thoughts about whether they should weigh themselves or not. Well, first of all, I'm never going to say you should or you shouldn't, okay? I think my question that I would want to throw back at you in a typical therapist way that we do is that what is the outcome? What is the response from weighing yourself? I've had people tell me that actually weighing themselves regularly helps to keep their panic down, because they can see even though they're binging and their weight is fluctuating, they feel a little bit calmer. But the majority of people I've found find weighing a very stressful experience, because we get this idea and this fixation on certain numbers, and if we see a number that we don't like, or if it's above a number that we've never been at before, that can feel catastrophic in the moment as well. So I suppose my answer to the question, should I weigh myself, is one, what are your reasons for weighing yourself? And how emotionally invested are you in the outcome? So for me, if I step on a scale, I don't feel particularly emotionally invested in what number is on that scale. There was a long time when I did, a long time where a slight decrease would be a roaring success for me, and a slight increase would be, catastrophic. So I think really notice and what is best for your emotional health. What makes you feel freer. I think the scales can be such a way of reinforcing anxiety around weight, reinforcing the importance of certain numbers. So for many people, I think it just doesn't enhance their mental well-being to see the number on the scales. And it also means that if you had a phone call with a doctor like I did this week, you could just say to the doctor, I don't know, I don't weigh myself. That would save you having the conversation if you don't feel ready to have that kind of conversation with a doctor when you don't know the kind of response you might get. So if you want to share any of your experiences that you've had with doctors when it's come to your weight, or if you have any tips yourself on how you handle those kinds of conversations with medical professionals, I'd love to hear them, and I'll collate some of them and maybe share them around to help each other out, because it can be a really tricky minefield, particularly at the moment with COVID and all the talk about weight and so much judgment. I think the government thinks that they can shame people into change, and that's just not how it works. But anyway, on that note, I hope you're okay, and I'll see you on the next video.